What should we do first for number 1? Awesome. The negative's touching the parentheses, so we want to distribute it to both things inside. So we have 5x minus 3x plus 1 is equal to 2. What would we do next? Combine like terms. When they're on the same side, we just combine them together. So 5x minus 3x would be 2x plus 1 equals 2. What should I do next? Subtract the 1. 2x is equal to 1. Jasmine, what do I do next? Divide by 2. So x is equal to 1/2. What can I do to check my answer? Take your answer, plug it back into the x's, and your equation will make sense. You'll end up getting 2 on the left side equals 2. So every question you can take the answer, all of these types of questions, you can take the answer, plug it back in, and check your work. All right, let's go to the next part. Let's do number 4. It says use the given conditions to write an equation for the line in point slope form. So point slope form, all we need is a point and the slope. And our point slope form is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So lucky for us in number 4, we have the slope and a point. So our slope's going to be m, and our point is going to be x1 and y1. So we just need to plug it in. So y, what would come next? What's our y1? So y minus 8 is equal to 4 times x plus 6. Awesome. Notice how when we plugged it in, the signs change. From a minus 8 and a plus 6. So this would be our answer. So this is point slope form. What if the question asked for slope intercept form? What would we need to do? So slope intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So we'd want to distribute to get it to be y equals. So we have y minus 8 is equal to 4x plus 24. And what would we do next? Add 8 to the other side. So we get y equals 4x plus 32. So just make sure you pay attention to the directions. The question can either say, put it in point slope form or slope intercept form. So if it asks for slope intercept form, that would be the second one. You would just do point slope form first, then distribute and rearrange your equation. All right, so we're going to pick up where we left off. So we did one question from each section yesterday. So if we have time, I'm going to do the rest of them, which we should have time. But if not, I'll make sure I do at least one other one from each section. So looking at number 2, we're solving for x here. What should I do first? Add the 7x. We're going to combine our like terms to move the x's to one side, and that means we have to move the numbers to the other. Just be super careful when moving things around. Remember, you have to do the opposite. So if you're adding to move it to the other side, you subtract to do the opposite. So here we have 17x is equal to negative 6. What do we do next? Divide both sides by 17. So x is equal to negative 6 over 17. All right, let's do number 3. For number 3, what should we do first? Awesome. We want to distribute the negative 5. Does the negative 4 get distributed? No, that's just a minus 4. So we can just get rid of our parentheses here and combine our like terms on the left side too. So on the right side, when we distribute negative 5, we have negative 5x minus 25. What are the like terms that we have on the left? 7 minus 4 would be what? 3. So negative 6x plus 3. What could we do next? We can add 5x, move the x's to the left side. And what else can we do? Subtract 3. So we get negative x is equal to negative 28. Am I done? No. We need to get x all by itself. So I need to get rid of that negative in front of the x. So how do I get rid of the negative? Divide by negative 1. So x is equal to positive 28. All right, let's go to the next section. So in the next section, it says use the given conditions to write an equation for the line in point-slope form. So we talked about this yesterday. Point-slope form is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So it's nice when we have a point and the slope because we just need to plug it in. So that's exactly what we have in number 5, the point and the slope. So we just plug it into our equation. So our slope is our m, and then our point is x1 and y1. So when I plug it in, I have y minus, what would come next? 7 is equal to, what? 8 over 9 times x minus 2. It's always minus when your numbers are positive here. So our formula is minus, but if it's minus a negative number, that's when it turns into a plus. So this question's just asking for point-slope form, so that would be our answer. All we have to do here is plug it in. All right, for number 6, again, we have to plug it into point-slope form. I have a point, but do I have the slope? No. So first thing we want to do is find the slope. So my slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to label my points to make it a little bit easier just for me to plug it in. So my first point is going to be x1 and y1, and then my second point will be x2 and y2. So now let's plug it into our slope formula. So I have negative 3 minus negative 5 over negative 7 minus negative 6. So when we subtract a negative number, it turns into a plus. What is negative 3 plus 5? 2. What's negative 7 plus 6? Negative 1. Can I simplify 2 over negative 1? What does it simplify to? Negative 2. So now, do I have a point in the slope? Yep, my slope is going to be negative 2. And I can use either one of these points. I'm going to use the first one just because it's already labeled x1 and y1. So let's plug it in. My equation is going to start with y. What would come next? Plus 5. Perfect. Typically it would be minus, but since it's minus a negative 5, we change it to y plus 5 is equal to what? Awesome. Negative 2 times x plus 6. So this would be our equation in point-slope form. And that's what the question's asking for. So we just had to find the slope first. All right, next. So for number 7, it says write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form. What's slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. So for 7, we have all the information we need to just plug it in. So we have y equals, what's our slope? 7 over 8 times x plus b, and what's our b? 3. Awesome. So we would just plug it in here. All right, let's look at number 10. A school has just purchased a new computer equipment for $24,000. The graph shows the depreciation of the equipment over 5 years. The point 024,000 represents the purchase price, and the 0.50 represents the when the equipment will be replaced. So I'm going to label our graph. So on the bottom, we're talking about years. And then on the left, we're talking about the price. So it says write a linear equation in slope-intercept form that models the value of the equipment. So it models the value of the equipment Y X years after the purchase. So let's come up with our slope-intercept form. Do we have the slope here? Is the slope given? No, but we can find the slope. We can use our slope formula. So slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now remember, we can always use rise over run and just count, but here it may be hard to tell the values from the graph, so we can just plug in 2 points. So we can use this point as our x1 and y1. And then our other point, 5, 0, can be our x2 and y2. So let's plug in our values. So we have 0 minus 24,000 over 5 minus 0. So we get negative 24,000 over 5. And then let's divide. 24,000 divided by 5. 5 goes into 24 4 times. So then 5 goes into 40 8 times. So it'd be 4,800. So our slope is 4,800. What's our y-intercept? Because it's asking us for slope-intercept form. So what would our b be? At what point do we cross the y-axis? What's our y value when x is 0? What's this y value here? 24,000. That's where our graph crosses the y-axis, so that would be our b, 24,000. So let's plug in everything we have now. What is slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. So let's plug in our m and plug in our b. So y equals what? 4,800, what? X plus, yes, it is negative. Thank you. Slope should be negative. Plus 24,000. This is just one part of the question because it's asking us to write a linear equation in slope-intercept form that models the value of the equipment. Then the second part says use the model to predict the value of the equipment after 4 years. So I'm going to plug 4. Do you think that is going to go into the x or the y? Which one's talking about years, x or y? The x. The x is talking about years. So 4 years, 4 is going to get plugged into the x. So we have y is equal to negative 4,800 times 4 plus 24,000. These are kind of big numbers here, but we're going to multiply. We can do that. So we have 4,800 times 4 be 0, 0. 4 times 8 would be 32. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 3 would be 19. So here we have negative 19,200 plus 24,000. So last step, we have 24,000 minus 19,200. we just subtract. We get y equals 4,800. No, it ends up being positive. 4,800 what? What does our y talk about? Dollars. That's going to be the price after 4 years. So in 8 and 9, we have to write an equation of the line in slope-intercept form. What's slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. So in number 8, I have the slope and I have a point. Do I have the slope and the y-intercept? No. So what would I do? Plug it into point slope form. Since I have the point, so this would be the slope. Since I have the slope and a point, I'm going to plug it into point slope form first, and then I can rearrange my equation from there. So point slope form would be y, what would come next? Minus 5 is equal to negative 2 times x minus 2. Awesome. We just plugged in our slope for m and our point for x1 and y1. Now this is point slope form. The question's asking for slope-intercept form. Bless you. So it's asking for it to be in y equals mx plus b. How would I rearrange this equation to get it to be y equals mx plus b? Awesome. We want to distribute the negative 2. So I have negative 2x plus 4 is equal to y minus 5. And then what do? Add 5. So y is equal to negative 2x plus 9. Just be super careful with the directions. Make sure you understand what it's asking for. If it's asking for slope-intercept form or if it's asking for point slope form. The first thing I would do when I get the test tomorrow would be write my formulas down. So write slope-intercept form down, write point slope form down, and I would write the slope formula down. That way you have them on the test, and you can use it and look back if you need to. What should I do first for number 9? I need to find the slope first. Whichever equation I'm using, they both involve the slope. So if we're not given the slope, we have to find it. So our slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to label my points of x1, y1, x2, y2. So this would be negative 2 minus negative 6 over negative 6 minus negative 7. Be very careful with your signs when you're plugging in. When you subtract a negative, it turns into a plus sign. So what's negative 2 plus 6? 4. What's negative 6 plus 7? 1. Can I simplify 4 over 1? What does it simplify to? 4. So my slope is 4. Bless you. Now do I have enough information to plug it into a line? Yeah. But I only have a point and the slope, so I have to use point slope form first. So my point slope form would be y. What would come next? Y plus 6 is equal to 4 times x plus 7. Awesome. Now the question's asking for slope-intercept form, so it has to be in the form of y equals mx plus b. So what should I do next? Distribute the 4. So we have y plus 6 is equal to 4x plus 28. What would we do next? Subtract 6. So y is equal to 4x plus 22. Let's do 11. So 11, we have to solve the system by substitution. When we're going to use substitution, we need either an x equals or a y equals. Do we have that in number 11?
Yes.
Yeah, our second equation is x equals negative 4y. So I'm going to take negative 4y and plug it into the x, since that's what x is equal to. So I have negative 4 times negative 4y minus 3y is equal to negative 117. So 16y minus 3y is equal to negative 117. 16y minus 3y would be 13y is equal to negative 117. What do I do next? Divide by 13. What is 117 divided by 13? 9. Negative 9. Perfect. Am I done? Is that all I needed? No, what would I do next? Plug the y in. So I'm going to take negative 9 and plug it into y. So I have x is equal to negative 4 times negative 9. So what does x equal? Positive 36. How would I write my answer here? 36 comma negative 9. So do not forget to write your answer as a coordinate point. Any systems of equations. So for these and for 3 variable ones, you need to write your answer as an ordered pair. All right, we're going to save elimination for tomorrow. We're going to do one on the next page. Let's look at number 12. So for these questions, it says solve using the substitution method. On the test, you can pick whichever method you want, but let's practice using substitution here. If we're going to use substitution, we need either an x equals or y equals. Do we have one of those here? No. But we can make one of our equations x equals or y equals. Which one do you think would be better? The second one. We see that our coefficient in front of x is just 1, so it'd be easiest to make it x equals. So how do I change my second equation to make it x equals? Add 2y to move it to the other side. So x is equal to 2y. What would I do next? I plug it in. So I'm going to use substitution, substitute it into the x in the other equation. So because it's x equals, I'm plugging it into x. So I have negative 5 times 2y plus 4y is equal to 24. So this would be negative 10y plus 4y is equal to 24. What would we do next? Combine like terms. Since we're on the same side, we do exactly what it says. So negative 10y plus 4y would be negative 6y is equal to 24. And then what? Divide by negative 6. So y is equal to negative 4. Am I done? No. We still have to find what x is equal to. So what would I do? Plug it in. I'm going to plug it into my second equation here. So plug it into y. So we have x is equal to 2 times negative 4. So what does x equal? Negative 8. How do we write our answer? Negative 8 comma negative 4. Don't forget to write your answer as a coordinate point. On the quiz, people forgot to write their answer as a coordinate point, but they got the right x and the right y, but they still lost points because they didn't write it as a coordinate point. You have to write your answer this way. All right, let's look at 3. Again, we're going to solve using substitution. Do I have an x equals or y equals here? Yep. So I can take what y is equal to and substitute it into the other y. So that gives me 7x plus 7 is equal to 2x plus 12. What should I do next? Awesome. Subtract the 2x. So I have 5x plus 7 is equal to 12. Then what do we do? Subtract the 7. So 5x is equal to 5. Andrew, what do we do next? Divide by 5. So x is equal to 1. Are we done there? No, what do I have to do next? Plug it back in. So I'm going to take what x is equal to, I'm plugging it into x. You can plug it into either equation and solve. If you want to work with the second one, you can plug it into that one too. But just make sure you're plugging it into x. So we have y is equal to 2 times 1 plus 12. So y is equal to 2 plus 12. And what's 2 plus 12? 14. How do I write my answer? 1 comma 14. All right, next for 14, we're going to solve using elimination. Do I have a variable that'll cancel out right away here? Yes. Yeah, so let's eliminate the x's because we see that we already have a positive 4x and a negative 4x, so they cancel. Remember, in elimination, you need the same numbers but opposites for your variable. So if I have a positive 4, I need a negative 4. So let's combine all of our like terms now. So 6y minus 12y would be minus 6y. Negative 26 plus 56 would be 30. What do we do next? Divide by negative 6. So y is equal to negative 5. Be super careful with your signs. A lot of people made this mistake on the quiz where they would divide 30 by negative 6, but write 5, positive 5, and then when they plugged it back in, they'd get the wrong x. So just be careful. Don't rush these questions because they are a lot of steps. What would I do next? Plug it back in. I'm going to plug it into the first one. But since it's y equals, I'm plugging it into y. So I have 4x plus 6 times negative 5 is equal to negative 26. So 4x minus 30 is equal to negative 26. What would we do next? Add 30. So 4x is equal to 4. And then what? Divide by 4 and x equals 1. Awesome. How do I write my answer? 1 comma negative 5. Always your x and then your y. All right, let's look at 15. 15, again, we want to use elimination. Do I have a variable that's going to cancel out right away? Not yet. How can I make a variable cancel out? Multiply. Which equation do we want to multiply? The top one by what? Negative 2. So our goal is to cancel out the x's, right? Yeah. So we're going to distribute the negative 2 to everything in the equation. Don't forget to even multiply it to the other side of the equal sign. It gets distributed to everything. So we have negative 2x plus 4y is equal to positive 28. Now we can combine these two equations together. Do our x's cancel? Yep. What's negative 3y plus 4y? Y. And negative 22 plus 28? 6. Awesome. So y equals 6. What do I do next? Plug it in. I'm going to take that and plug it into the y. So I have x minus 2 times 6 is equal to negative 14. So x minus 12 is equal to negative 14. What do I do next? Add 12. So Andrew, what does x equal? Negative 2. How do I write my answer? Negative 2 comma 6. We'll skip 16. If we have time, we'll come back, but I want to look at the 3 variables. So let's do our 3 systems. I'm going to save 18 for tomorrow too. Let's look at 20. All right, for number 20, remember we always want to pick a variable and stick with that one when eliminating. Which variable do you want to pick? Sure, y is a good one because I have y's that have a coefficient of 1 and I have a positive and a negative, so that's a good choice. You can pick any of your 3 variables. You can pick the x's, you can pick the y's, you can pick the z's, but just make sure you stick to that one. So you have to do this step twice. So let's label our equations as 1, 2, and 3. Now, which 2 equations do you want to combine together first? 1 and 2. Good choice because we see that our y's are going to cancel out right away. So I have x plus y plus z is equal to negative 3, and x minus y plus 2z is equal to 4. So our y's cancel. That was our goal. What's x plus x? 2x. What's z plus 2z? 3z. And negative 3 plus 4? Positive. What would I do next now? I do that same thing again. We just need to pick two different equations. So which two do you want to work with next? 2 and 3. We can do that. So x minus y plus 2z is equal to 4. And 3x plus 3y plus 3z is equal to negative 11. Do our y's cancel out right away? No, not yet. What do I need to multiply by to the first equation to get our y's to cancel? 3. So don't forget to multiply everything in the first equation by 3. So we have 3x minus 3y plus 6z is equal to 12. 3x plus 3x is 6x. Do our y's cancel now? Yeah. Yep. Plus 9z is equal to 1. What would I do next? We take our two equations that we just got. So we have two equations with two variables, and we combine these two together. So I'm going to combine these two. So I have 2x plus 3z is equal to 1, and 6x plus 9z is equal to 12. Now again, we're going to use elimination, pick a variable to cancel. What do you want to cancel out here? Oh, sorry, 1. Which variable do you want to cancel? Let's cancel out z's. So what do I need to multiply by to my first equation to get z's to cancel? Negative 3. So let's multiply everything times negative 3. So we have negative 6x minus 9z is equal to negative 3. Are my z's going to cancel? Yes. What's 6x minus 6x? 0. It also cancels. What's 1 minus 3? Negative 2. Does 0 equal negative 2? No. So what's my answer here? No solution. So if you get 0 equals a number that is not 0, it's no solution. Be super, super careful. You can end up with something like x equals 0. X can equal 0. 0 is a value. That's a number. That would work. So you would just take that and plug it in. A lot of people will get to the point where they get x equals 0 and say, oh, no solution. X can equal 0. That is a number. But when you have no variables left and you have something like 0 equals negative 2, this is where it would be no solution because 0 does not equal negative 2. What if I had something like 0 equals 0? What would my answer be? Infinitely many solutions. Perfect. So let's go up to 18. Which variable do I want to eliminate here? Y is a good choice because all of them have a coefficient of 1, and I have a negative y, so I see that it'll be easy to cancel out the y's. Just pick a variable and stick with that one. You have to eliminate that twice. So I'm going to label my equations 1, 2, and 3. Which two equations do you want to work with to eliminate the y's? 1 and 2. Good choice. So 1 and 2. 1 is x plus y plus z is equal to 2. And 2 is x minus y plus 5z is equal to 6. Do the y's cancel? Yep, perfect. So let's combine everything else. What's x plus x? 2x. What is z plus 5z? 6z. That would be equal to 8. What should I do next? Do it again. We have to do that step twice. And since we eliminated y's, we have to stick with y. We have to eliminate that one again. So which two equations do you want to work with now to eliminate y again? Second and third. Good choice. So we have x minus y plus 5z is equal to 6, and 2x plus y plus z is equal to negative 3. Let's combine them together. X plus 2x would be what? 3x. Our y's cancel. What is 5z plus z? 6z. And 6 minus 3? 3. What should I do next? We need to combine our two answers together and eliminate another variable. So we have 2x plus 6z is equal to 8, and 3x plus 6z is equal to 3. Which variable do you want to eliminate here? Z. Good choice, because we see that they're already the same number, but we need them to be opposites. So I need one of them to be a negative z. How can I make one of them a negative z? Multiply by negative 1. I'm going to multiply negative 1 to the first equation. So make sure everything in the first equation gets multiplied by negative 1. So I have negative 2x minus 6z is equal to negative 8. So now let's combine these two. What's 3x minus 2x? X. What happens to the z's? They cancel, and 3 minus 8? Negative 5. Perfect. So x is equal to negative 5. That's one of our three answers. What would I do next? Plug it in. Which one do you want to plug it into? I can't plug it into one of the originals yet. I have to plug it into one of the green ones. I'm going to plug it into the one on the left. It doesn't matter. You can pick whichever one. Just make sure you plug it into the x in one of your equations. If you wanted to plug it into this one, just make sure you plug it into the x. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to plug it into the left one. So we have 2 times negative 5 plus 6z is equal to 8. So negative 10 plus 6z is equal to 8. What would I do next? Add 10. So 6z is equal to 18. What do I do next? Divide by 6. So z is equal to 3. What would I do next? Plug it in. Plug it in where? To one of the original equations. So I'm going to take z and x, and I'm going to plug it into the first one. So I'm going to plug in x and z. So I have negative 5 plus y plus 3 is equal to 2. So here we're solving for y. What would I do first to solve for y? I can add 5 to move it to the other side. So y plus 3 is equal to 7. What else? Subtract 3. So y is equal to 4. Perfect. How would I write my answer? X then y then z. So negative 5, 4, 3. Okay, let's do 19. 19 is nice because one of the equations is already solved for us. I have z is equal to negative 2. That's an answer. So what would I do next? I have to plug it into the second equation because that's one with two variables. So I can't just go ahead and plug it into the first one yet because we only have one answer. So you use back substitution. Take your one answer, plug it into the one with two variables. Take your two answers, plug it into the one with 3. So I have here 4y plus 3 times negative 2 is equal to 14. So 4y minus 6 is equal to 14. What's next? Add 6. So 4y is equal to 20. And then divide by 4. So y is equal to 5. Perfect. What would we do next? Plug it in. We have z and we have y, so let's plug them both in. Z is -2 and y is 5. So I have x plus 2 times 5 plus 2 times -2 is equal to 2. So x plus 10 minus 4 is equal to 2. What would we do next? I can combine my like terms. Since they're on the same side of the equation, we do exactly what it says. So we have x plus 6 is equal to 2. Then what? Subtract 6. So x is equal to -4. How would I write my answer? Awesome. -4, 5, -2. Remember, the -2 comes from the z here. So in 21, we want to find the equation of a line and interpret the meaning of the slope. So first, let's find the equation of a line. We can use one of our two formulas. It doesn't say, so when it doesn't specify what type of equation of a line, we can pick. Here, I have a point. I also have the y-intercept, so I could use either one. Do you want to use point slope or slope-intercept? Point slope? We can do that. So point slope is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So either way, I need to figure out what my m is. How can I find my slope? I can use my slope formula. That works. How else could I find my slope? Rise over run. I can count. So you can either plug in a point. We have a point here at 0, 0, so that could be our x1 and y1. And we have a point up here at 470, so this would be our x2 and y2. And we can plug that in. So I'm going to plug it in, but again, if you wanted to, use your rise over run and count. So here we have 70 minus 0 over 4 minus 0. So this would be 70 over 4, which would simplify to 35 over 2. And what's 35 divided by 2? 17.5. Awesome. If you weren't sure, divide it. We have 35 divided by 2. 2 goes into 3 once. With 1 left over, 2 goes into 15 7 times. With 1 left over, we drop down the 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. So if you're not sure right off the top of your head, write it down and divide it out. So our slope is 17.5. So we can use, we said we wanted to use point slope form. That's fine. Let's plug it into our point slope form. So I have y. What would come next? Awesome. Minus 0, because we're going to use our x1 and y1. And then that would be equal to, what's our slope? 17.5 times x minus 0. And in our equation, do we need the minus zeros? No. Since it's just 0, we can get rid of them. So we have y is equal to 17.5 x. 17.5 there. All right, guys, the last part of this question, we need to interpret the meaning of the slope. So this is our equation of a line. We're done with that. Now let's interpret the meaning of the slope. Our slope is 17.5. What? What are we talking about? Speed. So we're talking about how fast we're going. So speed in what's the amount of time? Seconds. So we would say 17.5 it actually gives us the speed here. It's not really clear, but the M just stands for miles, I guess. So we could say 17.5 miles per second. The M's probably for meters or something, but if it would be more specific on the test or some, this would be fine as an answer. Just make sure you use the words on the side here. So don't forget to interpret the slope. So for 22, we want to find the equation of a line and interpret the meaning of the slope. So first, let's find our equation of a line. For this question, for our equation of a line, we need to use point slope form because we don't have the y-intercept. So we have to use point slope. Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So let's find our slope first. We can pick any 2 points on our graph. So I'm going to pick this one down here and this one up top, just because we clearly see that it goes through the line at those 2 points. So just to label this point, what would the coordinates of our point up top here be? Awesome, 1, 4. And what about our point down low? 3, 0. Remember, it's x, then y, so our x, it goes 3 on the x-axis and doesn't go up, so 3, 0. So I'm going to label this as x1, y1, x2, y2. It doesn't matter which one's your x1, y1, or your x2, y2. If I wanted to label the 3, 0 as my first point, that's fine too. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to plug it into my slope formula. We have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. When we plug it in, we get 0 minus 4 over 3 minus 1. So this would be negative 4 over 2. What does negative 4 over 2 simplify to? Negative 2. Awesome. So our slope is negative 2. Do I have enough information to plug it into an equation of a line? Yeah, I have a point. I can use either one of these points, and I have my slope. So let's plug it in. We have y minus what? What's our y1? What's our y1? 4. So y minus 4 is equal to negative 2 times x. What's our x1? Minus 1. So this would be fine as an equation of a line. This is point slope form. But if you wanted to take it one step further and put it into slope intercept form, what would we do? Distribute the negative 2 first, so negative 2x plus 2, and then what? Add 4. So y is equal to negative 2x plus 6. So either one of these is fine for the equation of a line. Now let's interpret our slope. So our slope is negative 2. Negative 2 what? What's our, always start with the y. What's the y talking about? Dollars. Per what? Per year. So always start with the y when you're describing your slope. When you're interpreting the meaning of the slope, remember our equation for slope, the y is on top. So the y is talking about dollars, and the x is talking about years. So it'd be dollars per year. So you always start with the y. So this would be decreasing $2 every year. It doesn't give us any more information like what's decreasing. Sometimes it'll say it in the little paragraph up top in the question, like number 10 did, but this one doesn't. So just use the words on your graph.